Hey guys, welcome back to Brothers Off Script. I'm Jerry,
I'm Ryan.
and today we're going to talk a little bit about adoption and why adoption happens. A little bit.
So when a mommy and a daddy love each other, um, even if only for a moment, a child can come of that union, and sometimes things happen, and the child
Needs a new home.
will need a new home.
Yeah.
And that's the kindest, gentlest way you can put it. But it encompasses so many situations, and just based on the numbers that are out there, there's
There's millions
millions of
kids
children
in the world.
worldwide
Yep.
that are maybe not all up for adoption, but millions of children that don't have homes and families of their own for whatever circumstance. And then there's people like you who I would say get the privilege and maybe the honor and maybe some of the prestige that comes with being an adoptive family.
I do feel I don't know if I try not to think about it. I guess I don't really.
You're not a big humble brag kind of person?
No, I feel uncomfortable almost as an adoptive dad. I don't feel uncomfortable talking about adoption with people because I talk about it all the time. I have people ask me questions all the time. Some of the questions people ask me are, I don't know. I'm not offended, but I understand.
Let's start
some
with
of
your
some
situation.
sure,
You've currently got five
kids,
and
3 weeks from now. As of the shooting of this video, I don't know when we'll post this one, but in about 3 weeks, in June of 2017, my wife and I are going to China to do another adoption.
right.
We have 5 kids right now.
So do you bring a duffel bag, or is it
No, we're not going to kidnap the child.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there is no smuggling of children out of China. But our new daughter will be about 6.5 when she comes home, and she has some special needs, but she is what's been really cool with this adoption and adopting an older child is that she has actually been able to talk to us. In fact, tonight, Ryan,
when I came through, you guys were doing a little video chat.
It's been very unexpected.
Your super slow DSL kind of sucked on that one. We couldn't really get the back and forth going.
Yeah, it was hard.
Upgrades, bro.
But she got to see us, and this is the third time I think that we've been able to have a video chat, which is very unusual in international adoption to be able to do that, to meet your child before you go to the country. And we'll be there for 3 weeks. This has been about 1.5 year long process for us with the paperwork and the permissions and everything. And then we'll bring her home, and she'll integrate into our family. Our oldest 2 daughters were adopted from Ethiopia when they were babies, and at the time we didn't think we could have other kids, which turns out we can. And so then we had 2 more biological daughters, and I thought, okay, we're done. And then my wife wanted to have another child. And I said, let's do foster care. And so we didn't expect to be able to adopt again, but we had a son through foster care, and he was with us for about 1.25 years before he finalized his adoption process through foster care. And he's 3.5 now. And now we're adopting 1 more, and we'll see how my sales resistance holds up. But my wife is very passionate about children, and so we are going to try to add this new little girl to our family in about 3 weeks, and she's going to be about 6.5, as I said, when we bring her home. So 7, my off-screen assistant.
This just in.
7. So the process anyway of adoption is complicated for everybody, and every country is different, and every child is different. But basically, we're giving a child a home. And whether you are adopting children from your own biological family, or you're adopting children from another family, whether you're adopting children who look like you racially or who don't look like you, the reality is everyone else in your life is
Gotta have questions.
got questions about it, right? Because it doesn't feel like the normal thing that people do. And yet, as an adoptive parent, one of the things that I've learned is when I start to talk about adoption, when it comes up, and it's hard for people not to notice that I have children who are adopted because I show my picture of my kids all the time at work, and people instantly notice that my 2 girls from Africa don't look like me.
As strange as it may be.
Turns out, there's a question, and I find people whose family have adopted. I find people who were adopted themselves. I find people who have considered adoption. I find people who have dealt with infertility issues, which can be incredibly hard on a marriage and on a relationship at all, and who have considered adoption or considered foster care, or who have family members who are in that process. So it's the issue of adoption is that kids need homes.
Yeah.
Right? And so when I hear people say, and the common things that I hear are, didn't you want to have your own kids?
Answer, I did.
Answer, I did. Doesn't it feel weird to have kids that don't look like you? No, not really, because does it feel weird to have friends that don't look like you? Does it feel weird to have, somebody you work with that doesn't look like you? No. Your relationship with people is the way that you treat them and the way they treat you back. People have dysfunctional relationships with their biological children all the time.
Yeah.
Okay? Right? Like let's not beat around the bush. Your biological kids,
Sometimes you hate them.
sometimes they can be jacked up.
My kid, man, he poked his finger into my TV the other day. I about lost my mind.
Yeah?
I threatened physical violence. It's like, I love you, but you touch my TV, I'll break something on you. And you're small. 2.5? Yeah, I'll take you.
My nephew, he's turning 6.
But you've got friends who are like brothers.
Oh yeah,
you've
so
got kids.
I
guess your kids. You've got nieces and nephews that aren't blood relatives.
Yeah, so when I say that, I definitely say like I have opened my viewpoint of adoption to include the people around me. I have, as you said, friends who are so close to me that I feel like they're family. And I call them family. And we've been to their house and their kids have been to our house and we've known each other for that group of people, it's been,
15?
Yeah, 15, almost 15 years.
Yeah.
So, I tend to think that way now. That family is what you make. And I'll say, especially if you've had problems with your family, your friends become closer.
Yeah.
Right? The good ones do. The ones that stick around.
Are you a good friend? I don't know. Check out the episode.
So for an adoptive parent, no, it's not weird. For the people who say, I couldn't love somebody else's kid, yeah, you could. You loved someone else's child if you're in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, yes, there's an attraction. Yes, there's...
But it's, okay, so I can...
You love people.
I can speak from that experience.
Go ahead.
All right. I've been in serious relationships with single mothers, young kids, and I have seen it on several spectrums of this kid is great, I could raise this kid as my own, and these little monsters would make anyone not want to be with you. Like I put that on them because just complete lack of discipline, and these kids were out of control, and I got hit in a place I don't want to get hit in, and it was just, I'm done with this. There's no way this is ever going to work out, and see you later, goodbye. But I felt in some situations, because I was with that person and because I wanted the relationship with that person, that their child could be my child because it was connected to them.
Yeah,
it had a direct connection. But I also feel like, and I think I am the kind of person who probably would never adopt.
Which is fine.
I'm realistic.
I'm not judging
I
any-
like other people's kids, but the minute they're my responsibility, I like them a lot less.
Sure.
Like I babysat in the past, but I'm not a good babysitter.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put that out there. That kid is in front of the TV, and I'm just making sure they don't cut and bleed. That's all it. That's all. It
Well,
really
and
matters.
I'll say this, like adoption is, and it's the same if you have any kind of blended family, right? So if you marry someone and they have children, you're in a relationship with a long-term or committed relationship with someone, they have kids, like your relationship is not babysitting. Now, if we call it that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I'm speaking as a dad now. If I told my wife that I was babysitting our children, my wife would be offended.
Yeah.
Okay? Because they're my children. My biological children are my children, and my adopted children are my children. And yes, there was different financial costs for both of them. And yes, I love them all the same. So when you take, and this is like the difference between, and I'll say that I feel this way. There's a difference for people who live together and people who are married.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a judgmental tone. I mean that there's an emotional change that happens when you switch from we live together and we're fine to we're married and we fight all the time now. Right? And not everyone's experience is that way, but in general, there's a difference. Okay? Mm-hmm. So children are the same way. When you're babysitting, it can be your brother's kid. It can be your sister's kid. It can be your friend's kid. When you're babysitting someone's kid, you're babysitting. It's temporary. It's like living with someone. You can both leave at the end of the day.
Right.
Right? You can break up and you don't have the court splitting up your stuff.
I'll hold the baby, but if it poops, it's going right back to you.
There you go. So when you adopt a child, that changes. Adoption is long-term commitment. In general, you don't get a take back. Okay? You can't ship them up in an Amazon box and send them back. It's illegal. Okay? Yeah. Don't do it. So the commitment changes the way you emotionally respond. And I think as a dad, my experience is when you get a baby, you get a lump. Okay? They're not good at anything. They can't chew, they can't roll over, they can't poop in the toilet.
Get the one with a few miles on it. It's already potty trained.
Yeah, you get the lump, okay? All right, now, you love the lump. If you're a mom or a dad, you love the lump. They're special. You coo, you cuddle, you kiss, you change, you care, you feed, but it's a lump. The baby doesn't do anything to you. They don't give anything to you. And then they smile. And that baby gave you a smile. Oh, it's so cute, that baby smile. And there's stink in the poop. And the stink in the poop is there, and it's real. And the baby doesn't smile every day. Okay? But you keep working at it, and the lump grows a couple of teeth, and the lump starts to walk, and the lump still has stinky poops, but now the lump is happy to see you when you come home from work, and the lump is so cute.
Yeah, I'm just getting the hugs.
Yeah, you getting the hugs?
Yeah, he runs
You're
up
two and a half.
He
right?
runs up to me every time I come there. Daddy, tell him give me a
Dad,
leg
get
hug.
the hugs. And the kid says, I don't know, they speak gibberish, right?
Or they repeat everything.
Yeah, they
you're not
repeat
supposed to
stuff
say.
that you're not supposed to say. And they get the words, and you're like, oh, love you, and daddy, and mommy, and it's so cute, the lump. And there's poop coming out of the lump's butt. And you're cleaning up the lump.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, you love the child because you're taking actions that are loving, that are caring, that are intentional, that are on purpose, and the child can start to act lovingly back. And then the child turns 3, and all they say is no, every time, all the time. And you want to beat the lump. Okay? And this development process eventually is supposed to turn into a functional adult that you have a relationship with. And when you say, I love you, son, I love you, daughter. They love you back.
I've just learned the thicker the stick, the faster the response. I just, it's a short spoon. They think they're going to dodge it. It's a long belt. They ain't getting away from that. It wraps around, catch them in the front. They don't know.
And I don't beat my kids, but I just understand that this is a developmental process. Dating is the other way, right? So for dating, you have attraction, right? And you work to cultivate this attraction, and they are reciprocating.
On the third date, they say, "Hey, by the way, I have a 2-year-old at home," and you say, "That's great.
I don't know about that.
I'd love to meet him sometime," and
I don't know about that.
You end up meeting him, and you're like, "Okay, cool. It's a 2-year-old, and the child's fine."
And that works out for some people. But love is development.
It develops.
Yeah.
It still develops. I'm just saying that as somebody who's been in that situation and having that connection with a person and a child that wasn't mine, I didn't become jaded at all. I just grew to realize that because I never actually, like, the connection, I mean, and maybe it's different now, because I've had a kid and I know what the difference is, and I've had many interactions with your kids, and it's great.
There's
them.
so many of them.
But it doesn't change the fact that some people, me probably, for example, and again, I don't really know for sure, but I feel like if I could have another kid, I would probably have another kid first.
Oh, it's not.
But I set myself a very strict limit.
Yeah.
Early on in life, like, I think I want 2 kids. I wanted it, the dream circumstance. I wanted a boy and a girl twin, come out at once, get it all over with, be done, and then be done.
Yeah.
And not have any other thing. I got one of each. I checked out at the register, and now I'm on my way back home.
Got a special.
In the minivan.
Got a special.
Buy one, get one free.
That's not bad. It's just, in general, like, and I don't have a burning desire to have more children, okay? I'm not motivated to have more children. There's constraints of resources. There's constraints of time. I'm tired all the time. And I'm in school, and I work full time, and I've got 5 kids, and everybody, I don't know how you do with 5 kids. I've got 1 kid, and they stress me out. I've got 3 kids, and they stress me out. I don't know how you do it. I met a couple the other night. They have 10 kids. I looked at them, and I almost said, I don't know how you do it. But you know what? I know how they do it. You know how you do it when you get another kid? You don't quit today, right? You get to the end of the day and don't quit, and tomorrow morning when you wake up, you don't quit today. Okay? That's it. That's how you do it when you're dealing with hard times, when you're dealing with money issues, when you're dealing with relationship issues. You don't quit today. And if you do, that's it. Right? Because the only thing you get to control about your life is whether or not you quit today. Your job, your kids, your marriage, your relationships, your finances, your diet, your workout plan. You want to quit? You quit today. You don't want to quit? Don't quit today. That's all you got to control. I don't want to make it more simple than that, but adoption is just choosing to be loving on purpose until the lump is less of a lump and more of a human.
But what are the advantages of adopting an older kid? What is the, I don't want to say disadvantages, because we're all going to eventually grow up and get old.
Sure,
not need assistance in the same manner. But
so the great thing about adopting an older kid is, in general, older kids are less desired, right? So every country's different. In China right now, the restrictive policies that they have on children, which was for the last 30 years, there was a one-child policy, which led to a lot of children being abandoned, and eventually led to children with any imperfection, both boys and girls. Right now there's a huge need for adoptive parents of boys from China. as well as girls with special needs. Now, special needs in China can be anything. I'm not going to make sweeping statements about the culture, but in general, a lot of the children have minor medical issues that are either easily correctable inside the United States within our healthcare, or are fine. Children with a bad cough can be considered undesirable. So, I think when you adopt an older child, there's a slight risk in that you're going to deal with some attachment issues. Attachment is the process of a child being emotionally able to love a parent, and bonding is the process of a parent being emotionally able to love a child. Okay, so attachment and bonding are two different halves of the same kind of a coin. An older child may have attachment issues due to trauma or abuse or neglect, and so they may be unable to love. A parent who's had abuse, neglect, can have problems bonding to a child, right? So again, I'm going to tell you, your biological kids, sometimes you don't like them, okay? It's all right. I'm a dad. I love them. I don't always like them. Sometimes they're jerks. And I have to hug them and then put them in the corner.
Not too tough.
So that's the kind of the benefits. You know what? I'm going to stay out of the diaper stage. I've been changing diapers for about 8 years. I'm about done. You know, and I think that I'm giving a child a home who potentially, she was on a waiting child list. Also in China, one of the things that a lot of people don't know is when they turn, I believe it's 14, they actually get ejected from the foster care system.
Cut them loose.
Yeah. You know, they're considered not an adult, but they're just not eligible for foster care anymore or orphanage care, so they get kicked out of the orphanage. And our child is very fortunate in that she lives with a family. China has a program where basically families move into small housing units in the orphanage, and they care for children. They kind of become employees of the government, and they work and they stay in that home, and they are caregivers. So in our case, we're very fortunate that our child is in hopefully a good home right now, and there's a lot we don't know, and there's risk in that. But the fact that we've been able to video chat with her a couple of times is awesome. We've been able to send a couple of packages. And so adoption is just something that I really believe, if it's in your, heart to do it, and if it's in your ability to take that risk, it's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
It saves a child. Your home doesn't have to be perfect. The foster care system in the United States right now is, and for the last
pretty restrictive.
Couple of years, has been running advertisements that say, a foster child doesn't need a perfect home. They need a home, right?
But you've been through the hoops to try and adopt here.
Domestically. Yeah, so we actually, my wife and I, when we were first found out we were dealing with infertility issues, we were struggling. We went through a couple of miscarriages, which we really had a hard time with. We made the decision to adopt domestically. And we were in California at the time, and the birth mother, we worked with her for 6 or 7 months, and then she made the decision to change her mind.
Yeah.
After we had the baby and we were holding the baby, and we were calling the baby our baby, and
yeah, you guys had set your and you set your expectations really high. You had a plan. You were ready to go through.
We had the nursery ready.
Everything was there. You made a huge investment into this child financially and emotionally, and then
she changed her mind.
And now, being in that situation, I think that's what a lot of people see adoption as, is like, this unwed mother, she's going to have a baby, and she told me that if I want the baby, I can have the baby if I only pay the medical bills. So I think that threw me off a little bit to the idea of, doing that process. I mean, there's a whole episode on a unnamed TV show about that, where let's just have this kid and, give it to the highest bidder, but then change their mind at the last minute and several people got taken in this system that allows that to happen.
Yeah, it's very hard. My wife and I struggled a lot. I would say we went through grief in that process, but we then made the decision to do international adoption, and international adoption for families who are scared about the risk of something like that is much more reliable than domestic adoption or foster care. And, it's not for everyone, right? There's always risk. There's cost involved. Foster care is, if you're interested in adoption, foster care is your least cost-effective option.
Least cost-effective, and
least costly option.
Okay.
But there's a risk that a biological family may object, or there may be delays in the process. With our adoptive son, he came from the foster care system, and there was several times during his process, we didn't go into it planning to adopt him. He wasn't eligible for adoption. We didn't think it would ever happen. But there were several times over the course of a year and a half, even after we started to get our hopes up, where we thought, it's not going to work out.
Right.
So there's always risk, and there's tons of videos on the internet about adoption and that process, and you can certainly leave a comment if you have a question for us or for me about adoption. But
yeah, questions make the answers come a lot quicker. And asking somebody who knows is going to get you a lot quicker response than we do read our comments. But I mean, if you had to say one thing to your adoptive kids in this time capsule that we're leaving here, what would that one thing be?
And this is actually a recent conversation we'll have, and so I'll say this again. Adoption does not take away love. So if you have a child and you have another child, you don't love your first child less, okay? When you have a child and you adopt a child, you don't love your first child less. Love grows, okay? Your heart gets bigger. The tree of love grows bigger. So we just had this conversation with our girls, our 4 girls, because there was some fear in them that we were going to adopt this new girl, and she was going to be new, and we were going to love them less, and we were going to give some of their love to her. And so I would tell my kids and remind them of this story that, and I'll say this for everyone, love grows when you add to your family. You're not taking away from something that you already have.
All right. Well, as I didn't say much, I'll say this. I think that there's like, people will say this every once in a while. Somebody will be brave, to do this little thing. But I mean, it takes a lot of courage. It takes bravery, and because there's so many obstacles that are going to come down on you when you're an adoptive parent. And I see that, and I've heard the stories that you've told me, and it doesn't necessarily make me afraid to adopt. Like I said, I just don't think I'm the guy to do it. But it's definitely. I'll just borrow one of yours if I ever need one, right? Every parent will say that. You can just take one of mine if you want. So I'll do that if I ever feel like
Sounds good.
So,
well, guys, thanks for watching. We always appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe. Leave us a question if you have a question about adoption. Thanks so much.
Thank you.